Who am I speaking with?
Hi, this is Sankara Subramanian from the University of Arkansas.
And I must say that I was taken by your study. Let's take a look at it here. Mechanisms underlying social loafing in technology teams and empirical analysis. So what do we know about loafing right now?
So it is known that people tend to loaf or withdraw their efforts when they work in teams. Because teams provide a context where there are others available to whom responsibility could be shifted to.
So show me what we got here. You were saying right here the team size and team dispersion, those are the two factors that we know that when they go up, loafing increases, correct? And what you want to find was what?
Right. From prior research, we know that when team size increases, there are conducive conditions for people to engage in loafing. Again, when teams are dispersed, when members are not present in a co-located setting, it gets much easier for people to engage in loafing because there is no way others can put a social pressure. There is no way people are looking at you, they can know. So the condition is very favorable to cut back on one's efforts, do whatever one wants, and things like that.
So what were the variables that you found that were, I guess, the highest factors for, people's explanation of loafing?
Okay. So this is what we did. So because it is already known team size and dispersion can cause loafing, we were interested to know what is it that team size and team dispersion do, or how do individuals use these two mechanisms to engage in loafing. So we use Bandura's theory of moral disengagement, which is basically used to explain deviant behavior. How do people engage in deviant behavior? So Bandura has advanced several mechanisms like advantageous comparison, displacement of responsibility, moral justification, and 5 other mechanisms. We just chose 3 mechanisms as a case in point in the context of a brainstorming context. Brainstorming is often used in companies to solve problems, come up with new product ideas, resolve issues, etc. So we chose these: advantageous comparison, displacement of responsibility, moral justification. We found that with increasing team size, people are more easily able to displace their responsibility. Because when you have just 3 people, there is just 2 other people to whom you could shift your responsibility to. But when the same team becomes like 8 people or 10 people, there are so many others. You no longer feel you're doing a wrong thing. You feel it's just 1/8 of the work that's going to them. So you feel, if I don't, my contribution to it is a small part. If I don't contribute, I'm not making a great deal back to the team. There are so many others to compensate for what I do.
So let's go back. You boil it down to 3 items here: the comparison, displacement of responsibility, and moral justification. And you found which of the 2? Well, they're actually. You said you found that 2 of them really were greater contributors to this. And what were those 2?
We found that the 2 mechanisms among these 3, we found displacement of responsibility and advantageous comparison to be the factors that drive loafing.
So explain that to a person. Like, what would that be?
Okay. So displacement of responsibility is where the actual definition goes obscuring or distorting the agentive relationship between actions and effects they cause. So basically this is this. In the context of displacement of responsibility, people displace their responsibility to the several others available in the team. There are so many others available to whom. So here if you see the graph, if you see the diagram here, you find that the relation goes from team size to displacement of responsibility. So when people know the team size is large, there are so many other people available in the team, it becomes very easy for people to shift responsibility to several people. But you don't see the same in the context of team dispersion. If you see the graph here, we don't find the team, so it just means team dispersion is not necessarily a bad thing. Especially today with virtual teams, with teams getting dispersed, we don't find a statistically significant relationship to claim that team dispersion in fact leads to greater loafing.
So in actuality, team size to the comparison and displacement of responsibility were essentially the highest contributors, yes?
That's right. We found advantageous comparison and displacement of responsibility to be the greatest contributors among these 3 mechanisms.
So sort of in summation, how do you sort of watch out for that and protect yourself? What would be your advice?
All right. So one reason why people are able to displace responsibility could be that there are not clearly defined metrics. That is, people have their own benchmark that they feel this is the quantum of work I need to do. If I don't do it, there are so many others to do. But if you fix responsibility, clearly defined policies and maybe metrics to measure what individual has done, this is not going to surface. So something like open office environment where people are not necessarily questioned, such conditions can, while they do motivate the real performers, there are people who can take advantage of such system. So it's a very thin line for managers to strike a right balance, because you don't want to micromanage. You want to make sure people have the free time, they have the power to decide how the week goes, how they want to work. But again, the managers want to decide, maybe after a few weeks of observation, to whom necessarily benchmarks or guidelines should be set, and for whom a free riding technique could be given.